Okay, Erica, we can get started. So welcome everybody to the Virtual Study Abroad Fair, Day 3. This is the first year that we're doing a virtual study abroad fair, and it's been a lot of fun. So today we have our representative from Semester at Sea with us, Erica. But before we get to her, I'll introduce myself. So my name is Vienna Lenarduzzi. I'm a study abroad program specialist at Michigan Tech. I work over in the Pavlis Honors College, if you're not familiar with that. It is a program over in the materials and minerals building. And we have several different honors pathway programs that range from, sorry, I'm letting somebody in here, ranging from immersion to community work, like community outreach. We have enterprise, leadership, and research. So there's a lot going on in the Pavlis Honors College, and study abroad is like an immersion experience that you can add to any of those Pavlis areas. But you don't have to be part of the Pavlis Honors College to study abroad. It's just something to think about, and that happens to be where I'm at. So today we're going to talk about Semester at Sea, what they're all about. Following the presentation, we'll have some of our Michigan Tech Semester at Sea alumni to answer some questions about their experience. And then after they're done talking, we'll open it up to the audience to ask some questions. So we have Erica, if you want to take that away.
Hey y'all, my name is Erica. I am one of the regional directors with Semester at Sea. Typically your Semester at Sea advisor is Maddie, but I am just filling in for her today. I am going to put in the chat her email though, so if you do have any questions about the program or Semester at Sea in general, always feel free to reach out and we are here to help in any way we can. But I'll go ahead and get started. This is Semester at Sea. We are a shipboard program, which is really awesome and very unique, but we're a nonprofit study abroad option and we partner with Colorado State University. So during one semester, you'll actually go to about 10 to 12 different countries rather than just staying at one spot. You'll be able to kind of see a lot of different places around the world. And then half of your time we will be spending on the ship, and that's when you're going to be in class. And then the other half of that time we're actually going to be in country, and that's really your chance to get off the ship and go explore and see all of these cultures that we're going to visit. So we typically spend anywhere from like 4 to 7 days in each port. That way you have a good amount of time to really see what's going on there. Here you can see one of our sample itineraries. This is the voyage map for fall 21. We had to make the decision to cancel our spring 21 voyage just because of the pandemic and how long it takes to really prep for a voyage. So we're really looking forward to fall 21. A lot of our voyages focus mostly on Asia, Africa, and Europe. So a lot of our itineraries will focus there. Sometimes we will go to South America. Someone had asked in the chat, like, do you hit up the Mediterranean? But most of the time we do not. But who knows? You never know what can happen in the future. A little bit about our awesome campus. It actually does have a lot of amenities that your home campus would have, but we just look different because we're on a ship. But we do have classrooms, dining halls, there's a student union, there's a library on board, there's a medical team, a movie theater, tons of different centers on the ship for you to get involved with. And then here you can kind of see some of those photos of the areas. So on the top left, that's kind of our pool deck area. It's a super popular place to kind of hang out after class, maybe do some homework or just relax. That top center photo is kind of what a typical classroom is going to look like. So instead of having the usual desk and chair combo, you might actually have to have your laptop or your notebook on your lap while you're in class. We also have some photos of the cabins. Usually our cabins are either, you'll just have one roommate or two roommates. And then you can either have like an inside cabin or an outside cabin, and they're all a little different. I'm going to link in the chat. If you are interested in taking like a cabin tour, you can kind of do a 360 view as if you're like standing in there. And then we have other pictures, like the center one is actually the library. So we do have like books and things like that on board that you can search through. And then we've got pictures of like the dining hall or the sports court and things like that. Any questions about any of the details? Feel free to put it in the chat as I'm chit-chatting, and we can, like, I'll see it and answer it along the way as well. But typically for one semester, you will have you'll have about 570 students on board. So there is a huge amount of people on board. We have international students, and then we have students from all over the US. So it's quite the fun community. A little bit about academics. So on the ship, we have about 70 different courses for you to choose from, and there's a lot of different majors. And the best thing about that is, like, if you and your best friend aren't studying the same thing, you can still go on semester at sea together and still be on track with your academics, which is really nice. We even have upper and lower division courses. So even if you are a freshman all the way to a senior, there's going to be some class options in there for you. Just, of course, make sure to reach out to your study abroad office as well as your academic advisor, and they'll be able to tell you exactly how those courses would transfer back. And then all of our courses are from Colorado State University. So at the end of the voyage, you would get a CSU transcript to transfer back to your home campus. The way our program is kind of structured is we sail in the fall and the spring. We do not have any summer programs. And then you would get a full semester's worth of classes on the ship. So you'll take 4 classes, and one of those, which is mandatory, is the Global Studies. Your Global Studies class is pretty cool because it actually goes into detail about each of the countries that you're going to. So it'll give you like political background, cultural background, and things like that, just so you have a better understanding of where we're going rather than us being like, okay, you're in Vietnam, enjoy. But anyways, the other 3 classes that you would take are totally up to you. So just like on your home campus, we have a course registration day in which you would select the courses that you're interested in. You would pick the day and the time that they're happening and build your own schedule. Class sizes are pretty personal, so anywhere from like 20 to 30 students, except for your Global Studies, since that one is required for everyone. It's going to be your biggest class. And then we meet on A days and B days. So typically a school schedule would stay Monday through Friday, but since we're stopping so frequently in all of these places, we have A day and B day instead. So sometimes maybe you'll be on the ship for like 3 days and then you'll be in country for a week, or maybe you'll be on the ship for a week and then in country for a few days. And so the reason why we split it to A day and B day is to make sure we're getting enough contact hours for the class. While we're in port, you won't have any classes there, so that truly is your time to get off the ship and explore and see what's going on. The only exception for that is your field class. So those 3 additional courses that you are choosing will have a field class attached to it, which essentially just means that your professor will choose one day in one of the countries to really dive into the curriculum. So it's a very hands-on learning experience that they kind of take you and get actual like field experience rather than just on ship like book experience. So I think that's really cool. There was one time there's an international business professor took his entire class to the Adidas factory in Vietnam, and they really got to see how operations worked. We had an environmental professor who took their class kind of to do beach conservation and environmental studies while they were in port. We had a psych class that got to go to a monastery and learn how like the Buddhists approach happiness and things like that. So they are really interesting. So in-port experiences, if you don't have a field class, then you can do a couple different things, one of which is signing up for a field program. These are unique experiences that Semester at Sea has created for you, and they are structured in a way so that everything is set up for you and you can just join them. They range from half-day programs to multi-day programs, and it really just decides like what you are interested in. So it's a good way to kind of make your study abroad experience your own, rather than just having to do the same thing everyone else has to do. Or if you don't want to do field programs, you would be able to do independent travel, in which case you would build your own travel schedule. So some examples of field programs would be like a homestay if you wanted to stay with a local family. Maybe if you're someone who's really into music, you could do a music program that kind of shows you the different instruments in these countries that we're going to. If you're really into food, you could do like a foodie tour. If you're more adventurous, you could go on hikes or snorkeling, or you could do like a multi-day trip and like do a camel trek across the Sahara Desert. So there's so many options for you to choose from to really get the experience that you're looking for. Shipboard life. This is my favorite part. So I sailed as a student in 2013, and honestly, the ship feels like its own little country. You just get so close to everyone on board, and after a long week of traveling and you make it back to the ship, you're just like, yes, I'm home, I've made it. And it's such a good feeling. But people always ask me like, oh, don't you get bored like being on a ship for so long? No, you don't get bored. There's so much happening on board. It's just like a normal campus where like we have student clubs and student organizations that happen. So if you're like super passionate about something on your own campus, be a student leader, create a student club or organization and get that started. We have a lot of resident directors on board that will kind of help facilitate if you wanted to build a club, and they also give out information on like when the times of these organizations are meeting. The student union always has like board games going on, so there's people like playing games all the time. The sports court is always available, so if you wanted to play like basketball or volleyball or dodgeball, those things are definitely available. And then of course like fitness on deck is very popular, so if you wanted to do like a fit program or like a sunrise yoga, there's always just things happening. And then we love to like gather everybody as a community as well. So there's tons of community events that happen. Some of our biggest traditions would be Neptune Day is an awesome one. It's actually a nautical tradition for like all ships in the world when you cross the equator and prime meridian when you're at 00. A lot of funny things kind of happen on that day. And then there's Sea Olympics, which is another huge one. Different sections of the ship are kind of split out into teams, and classes will be canceled for the day. And then there's just these really fun like competitions that go on all day long, and it's a hoot. But the captain does some really awesome stuff for us to partake in. Like sometimes when we're like way out in the middle of the ocean, he'll turn out all the lights on the ship and the stars light up the sky. Like it's so incredible. But keep in mind too, like this is a academic program. So, you know, during the day you are in class, and then, you know, college classes, they have homework. So you're writing a lot of papers, you're doing group activities. And so then in the evenings, then there's these other events going on. So your day is pretty full on the ship. So in my opinion, no, it's almost impossible to be bored while you're on the ship. So program fees and aid, you can kind of see for the prices here, but a lot is included with semester at sea. So you are getting a full semester's worth of credits. All of your housing is included. All of your meals are included on the ship. You're getting really great health care so that you're going to be covered in each of the locations that we're going, which is awesome. There's tons of student services on board available. But then the best part, of course, is you're literally sailing around the world on a ship that has been turned into a university. So a lot is included there. We do have a lot of funding options. So Semester at Sea does give out a lot of scholarships and grants. So if you are interested in that, I'm going to link the chat as well for you to take a look at. The girls in the photo, they actually created like a headband company to raise money for their voyage. Then there's outside funding options as well. So if you're getting like a Pell Grant, we will match those. The Gilman Scholarship is a really great scholarship to use for study abroad. If you're receiving any type of aid on campus, talk to the study abroad office and talk to the financial aid office, and maybe that can be transferred on semester at sea as well. Admission requirements are pretty simple. Step one, of course, is to talk to the study abroad office. You need to make sure that you're giving them your plans for the semester, letting them know that you're interested in semester at sea. And then step two would be coming to our website and applying for our online application. So the online application is pretty straightforward. It's just at semesteratsea.org, and we're looking for a GPA of a 2.5 or higher, and then making sure that you are in good academic standing with your university. All right, that is all for me. So if you guys have any questions, definitely let me know. And we are going to be doing a really cool alumni panel as well, which I'm so excited about. But yes, feel free to unmute yourselves and interact.
Thanks, Erica. Yeah, so if we can have our panelists unmute their video, I'm going to introduce herself. As I say your name, you can do a little wave, and then we'll dive into the questions. All right, so first up, going in order of who I see on my computer, we have Corey Miller. I can't remember what years you guys did the voyage. You can share that once it's your turn to speak, but we have Corey Miller, then we have Lulu. Lulu, if you want to do a little wave.
Oh.
Then we have Sasha Drum. And then Bridget Streaker. And I'm sorry if I mispronounced your last name. So we have these four lovely students with us today. And I'll start with the first question. It doesn't matter who goes first, but it would be great if we all can kind of answer every question. So whoever wants to go first, why did you choose semester at sea? Anybody?
I guess I'll go first. So I chose semester at sea because I wanted to get out of this area. I am a local of the Houghton area, and I just kind of wanted to go anywhere and everywhere. I'm very indecisive of things a lot of the time, and yeah, I just wanted to see the entire world, and this was the best way to do it. My voyage left from Hamburg, Germany, which was kind of funny because my best friend from high school who studied abroad in my high school, like my sophomore year, I went to and lived with him for a month before the voyage. So that kind of worked out nice too. Yeah, I really want to go back to Europe and see him again. So anyways.
All right, next.
I can go next. I knew that I wanted to study abroad, didn't know where I wanted to go or what I wanted to do. And when I started looking at all the options, I was kind of weighing the pros and cons of staying in one place and really embracing that culture and learning it and learning the language versus kind of traveling the world and getting to see everything. And for me at that time, I hadn't done any previous travel. So I was not familiar with anywhere. So I thought semester at sea would just be a great opportunity to expose myself to the cultures of the world and the languages, and it was a fantastic decision.
Thank you. Lulu or Bridget, why did you choose semester at sea?
Sure. I just said because I can visit multiple countries in the same semester.
Mine was kind of similar. I wanted the opportunity to visit all the different countries. I also knew a lot of different foreign exchange students that were in the countries that we were supposed to visit.
Bridget was on the 2020 spring voyage, so she had to come home early.
And on our voyage plan, we had a plan of visiting 11 different countries. We ended up going to 3 that I count. We did end in South Africa, which we technically visited, but I just went from the boat to the airport, so I don't count it. But yeah, I missed out on visiting a lot of the foreign exchange students that I had planned on visiting.
Okay.
God, that was such a sad.
I know.
We're so heartbroken. Right as the spring 20 voyage kind of took off, the lovely corona pandemic decided to present itself to the world. So there were definitely some big struggles with that, but we got everyone home safe, and so we were really excited about that. But yeah, do you guys have a favorite memory from the ship itself?
I can go first on that one. I guess it's not a specific memory, but my favorite thing on the ship was after you're at sea for a couple of days and you are approaching land, it is just the most wonderful view and feeling. I had an outside room that had a window, and so any day that it was going to be a port day, like the first thing as soon as the sun was rising, me and my roommate would like peek out the window and look for the land, and it was just such a fun sight.
My favorite memory was in the beginning while we were crossing the Pacific. I would go out to the front of the boat and look down at the water, and I could see little flying fish jumping out of the water, and it was just really cute to see.
I don't have one favorite memory. It's just a great memory in general. Like, I was on such high highs during that entire time. And sometimes when I had my low moments, we're all human, they would be very low. And like, I knew like, oh crap, I need to just be alone for a sec. Like, let's just take this all in. I guess I will name one in particular though, was when I did shave my head and there was like, the rumors going through the grapevine that like, oh, it's gonna be Neptune Day tomorrow. It's gonna be Neptune Day tomorrow. So I'm thinking to myself like, do I shave my head? I'm running out of shampoo. Yes. Oh no, and I'm running out of body wash. That's what it was. I'm running out of body wash. Yes, I can use my shampoo as body wash. Okay, I'm doing it. That was the deciding factor. And then now look, after almost 2 years of growth, I have not cut it. Well, I've trimmed it a little, but 100% natural. I make my own shampoo now. When I condition it, I just put coconut oil in it. I wash it like once a month now.
So for those who may not know, what is a tradition of Neptune Day and shaving the head?
I think it goes back to like the old maritime tradition where it's like they used to all shave their heads. I really don't get why, but it's kind of funny.
I can answer
and I was
that.
very bald. I was very bald. The picture is right behind me. Oh, the lights. There we go, kind of. But
Yep.
that's me. And my roommate, Sue, which I miss her so much. She's doing good. I've seen her pictures recently. She's doing good. Where was I going with this thought, though? I had more to this thought, but oh, and then for a while I looked like a mushroom head. Like, it was so funny. When I was in Australia, I looked like a mushroom. Anyways.
Oh, thanks for sharing that, Corey. Lulu, what was your favorite ship memory?
I don't know. I think maybe I was thinking about it. Maybe that I was able to teach a couple shipmate friends how to dance belly dance, maybe. Yeah, so like because in the beginning we had this like club sign up thing, and then you can be like a sports instructor, and I didn't sign up when they were like asking people to go onto the stage and say what you're gonna teach, and but I was keep thinking about it, and then I finally just like drew like pull out a piece of paper, wrote actually signed up, and I thought that was pretty cool.
What
And we
did
were
you
able to finish one dance. Huh?
Oh, you wrote on the piece of paper that you would sign up? You cut out?
Yeah, so like because there are so many people, like so you will go. I think they go to like a one because we have two restaurant layer like cafeteria, and then you just go to Berlin and you put a piece of paper and for people to sign up and leave their email, and then you will email them later and set up time and stuff. But I thought like it's a safer a community to do so. If it's not on the ship, I might be more nauseous about like thinking who will be attending that kind of stuff, I guess. Yeah, so that was cool.
That is so much fun. I feel like the community is so welcoming. Like my biggest thing when I was on the ship was I tried to sit at a new table every day for different like meals. And I used to be so like introverted and like just an anxious person. And on semester at sea, I was like, you know what? No, that's not going to happen. And I would literally go and like sit down at a random table and be like, hi, I'm Erica. And like back on your home campus, people will look at you and be like, why is she sitting with me? I don't know you. But on semester at sea, people are like, hi, who are you? Welcome. Like, what's going on? And it was just such a cool environment, I thought.
Does anybody else want to comment on the community of the ship?
I think one of the neatest things about the shipboard community is that it's not all just college students. So there's these people on there called lifelong learners. So they're kind of on the ship. They sometimes come with their family if they have kids, or sometimes it's just them by themselves. And they're kind of there to make the shipboard community feel like home. And they'll take classes sometimes just for fun because they want to. They create little kind of families away from home. So you have dinner with them every once in a while, get to know each other more. So it was just really nice to engage with both the staff and the lifelong learners and the other students that you're there on university with. So it really just feels like a family setting.
Awesome. Well, I'll go on to the next question. What courses did you take, and what did you think of the class schedule layout?
I guess I'll go first here. So my voyage was the first voyage, ironically, to offer exercise science courses, and that's my major. That's my undergrad major, excuse me, because I'm a graduate student at Tech now. But so yeah, I took 2 exercise science courses. I'm trying to think. One was population health, and I really enjoyed that one. Even the field class for that was so cool. We got to tour a hospital in Ghana, and I've worked in healthcare before. I've worked in a long-term care facility going on like I worked 2 years before I left for my voyage, and now I'm actually back because of the pandemic. There's such a need in the community that I'm working there again. And so it's just kind of interesting to see the differences in our healthcare systems from here and then Ghana. And that was actually their like most up-to-date hospital, and it's just completely different. It blew my mind. And then the other one I took, I think was, I can't remember the exact name of it, was just mainly more of like a personal like nutrition and like health kind of class where I hate to say it was a lot of just repetitive stuff that I already knew, but it transferred back to something. And then I want to say the other exercise science course that they did offer on the ship, I already took back at Tech. So I wasn't going to take that one again, of course. But actually the third course that I picked was the history of rock and roll, which I absolutely loved. Loved. The professor was so cool. He was like some Greek, I don't know, I can't remember, but he was so cool, and just the music he would play. I have such more appreciation for rock music now. Like, I grew up listening to rock music. I feel like the theme music of the QAnon is AC/DC. And so, like, learning just kind of about just the history of rock and roll in general, like, I loved it. Our field class was us literally going to like an underground like bar music place in South Africa where they would call them shebeens, and just so cool. They were talking about beer even too, and their homemade beer. I didn't get to try it sadly, but beer. And then the global studies course, which, I mean, that one was cool, just getting little tidbits of every single country that we were going to. And yeah, that was my schedule.
That's a good memory, Corey. How about the other students? What other classes stood out in your mind? And also, what did you think of the layout, so the A and B day kind of thing? That's okay, Corey. Maybe someone else can comment on that.
So I actually had a really interesting schedule. All of my classes landed on B days. So I was only in class for a third of the entire semester, which was great. So my B days were packed. I was in class most of the day, obviously, to fit in all 4 classes. But then on A days, I most of the time sat on the deck and enjoyed the sun and did all of my coursework to catch up for the next day or before we got to port. So for me, the A day, B day schedule worked out really well. But I think the others that I talked to, I had classes on both days, they also enjoyed that schedule. Oh, am I still on?
Yes, you are.
Oh, interesting. Okay. They still enjoyed that schedule. It is kind of weird because you don't have Saturdays and Sundays off if you're on the ship on Saturday and Sunday. But it's definitely worth it because then when you get to the port, you don't have any classes for a couple of days or even a week. And when I was on the ship, I studied environmental engineering. So I took geohazards and natural disasters and water for the world. Those are both taught by the same professor. Incredible classes. They both transferred in for credit at Michigan Tech. And it's actually interesting, that professor lives in Colorado, and my husband and I have traveled and stayed with his family multiple times since sailing together at semester at sea. So that's just a great relationship that we've been able to make. And he's a volcanologist, so we get to hear all of his cool stories of studying the different volcanoes since sailing and teaching with us. And the third class I took was psychology, which transferred in as one of like my general credits at Michigan Tech. So yeah.
And Sasha, correct me if I'm wrong, but you did some sort of research project too. Is that correct?
Correct. So I applied for Semester at Sea's presidential scholarship. I don't know if they still have that or not, Erica. Okay. So at the time, that was a scholarship where your full tuition for Semester at Sea was paid, but in return for that, you had to do a research project while you were on the ship and then present your findings. So in addition to my classes, I was studying water in each of the ports that we went to. So I packed with me on the ship a bunch of water tests in each port that we went to. I would test different sources of water to get their quality ratings, and then I would compare them kind of based on the local situation and then share those with the shipboard community. So that was an incredible experience. I've always been passionate about water, and in my job now, I work on water as well.
Oh, great. That's awesome. Bridget or Lulu, would you like to comment on some of your courses?
Sure. Yeah, when I was selecting course, I actually talked to Sasha, and I wanted to make all my courses into one day, but not successful. So I kind of got it into, I have 2 classes in the end of A day and 2 classes in the beginning of the B day. So it's kind of like half in, one day. It's within 24 hours, and then I have another 24 hours like to do some other things. And so I kind of like that. So I do have some break in between. And one really cool thing is because I chose to study the global studies on B Day, and so after orientation day, so many people are seasick, especially on A Day. So that, and me, I basically just slept through the whole morning, and when I wake up, that was like time for my class anyway, and then I took that 2 classes and then went back to sleep because of seasick. And but then the next day I was able to wake up and take the class and then go back to sleep again. So I thought that was a pretty cool thing, that I don't have the first class in A Day, just because of that, just to get yourself familiar with the ship first physically.
Can I make a quick note about the seasickness? Because I think that's a question a lot of people have about semester at sea. So I'm a person who gets very motion sick, so I was very concerned about that. But you are taken such good care of on the ship. There's like a little hospital doctor's office there, and I spent the first month there every couple of days, and they worked with me to figure out what exact medicine or seasickness bands, whatever would work to make me feel good while I was on the ship. And we found a solution that worked fantastic. It was just these little ginger tablets, and I took them every day when I was on the ship, and I felt perfectly fine after that. So it's just a little bit of adjustment at the beginning, but they're there to help you.
Great.
For I don't know when they changed it, but our global studies class, because it sounds like you guys only had it on one day, we had it both days. So I don't know when that changed, but I'm assuming it's still like that. Right?
Yeah, that one is a new change. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so I had that in the morning each day, so that's how I started my day. And then I had 3 other classes. I had abnormal psych, world religions, and then music soundscapes. It was okay.
Yeah, and you had to unfortunately complete the rest of those virtually.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
The virtual part of them it depended on the professor, but we ended up, the main part that we had trouble with was the field class, because so many of our ports were canceled. They had a lot of last minute trying to fix field classes for us, which ended up not being quite as good. And my one class, which one was it? Music. I ended up having to do a field class essentially at my home, because we were supposed to do it in South Africa, but the port was canceled. So yeah.
Thanks for sharing, Bridget. We probably have time for 2 more questions. Erica, if you don't mind, I'd like to pick those last 2. So how did you guys make semester at sea work financially?
I mean, I think it's really good that Michigan Tech has like also tied into it. So like scholarship that you get from Tech, you will get it for when you study abroad as well. And also semester C also have a set of scholarships that you can apply to all of them, as Sasha suggested to me. And so you get better chance of getting selected. And that helps as well. But also I mean, I pay a lot to Tech as an international student anyway, so my parents kind of support too. It might be a little different than American students.
I can speak quickly, but mine is a little bit different because they don't offer the scholarship anymore. But my tuition was paid for, but I still had to cover all of my import expenses. So all of my kind of field excursions and travel that I wanted to do. So part of that was I worked a part-time job while I was at Tech, so the semester before, to save some money for that. And then my husband, who also traveled, is kind of in a little bit of a different situation. He used his scholarships from Tech, but he had a significant portion that he still had to pay for. And for his in-port experiences, he actually ended up taking out a personal loan because you can't get a student loan for those, and it's not something that family could support. And a lot of times people don't recommend personal loans for an experience like this, but we would 100% recommend it. We don't regret it at all. And we've been out of college and graduated for 3 years, and that's taken care of. And we would do it again if it was triple the cost.
For mine, I'm out of state at Tech, and for my first 2 years, I was paying. Well, I traveled during the second semester, my second year, so I would have been paying room and board at Tech and out of state tuition. And actually, through semester at sea, it was less expensive for me for room and board and tuition to travel. However, that didn't include all the extra costs of in-country things, which does add up.
Yeah, so I had scholarships and whatnot through Tech. I was fortunate enough where I had my first 2 years at Tech completely paid for. So then doing semester at sea, like those scholarships still helped out and whatnot. I did have to take out a private loan, but like what Sasha said, it's totally worth it. This was an experience of a lifetime for me, and even from that experience, I have grown so much as a person that, yeah, personally, there's no price tag on it. And also, I want to go to medical school, so like I'm just kind of asking for it at this point. So whatever, it's fine. You know what happens when you're in debt? You eventually die anyway. So like, you know what? No. So all is good.
That's actually a good segue.
I'm sorry.
About
It's my nursing home.
Yeah.
Medical school.
That's okay.
I also didn't get a lot of sleep last night. I was up for 19 hours yesterday, and I only got 6 hours of sleep.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm glad you could be with us. But I have one last question, if y'all can answer it in like 30 seconds, because I do want to open it up to the audience. So what did you learn about yourself during and after your SAS experience? So while you're there, what did you learn about yourself? And then kind of reflecting and looking back, what have you also learned about yourself?
I can start. I think well, when I was answering that question, I said I'm always the observer, and I feel like I should be more focusing on myself because like I've been the exchange student, and like I feel like I'm always trying to compare different cultures and and I took the cultural communication, and I felt like I know it because I have this experience, but that's not all of the things. And I feel like every time, because we have sessions for people to share their import experiences, and whenever they say something, I feel that I already know them. So I'm more like observing other people to grow rather than like trying to grow myself. And after a while, I feel like maybe I should try to hold on the thought of like I already know it, but to like be more present and like trying to make my own connection and like a conversation. So because we started a similar track from Europe and going back to the US, from the Japan to US portion, that's 12 days of on the ship, I spent a lot of more time to trying to communicate with people, like to make personal conversation that I think helped a lot more rather than trying to like just be involved with a group, I guess. So like I think like personal communication and kind of like help and focusing on myself. I think that's one thing I learned. Yeah.
Great. Thanks for sharing, Lulu. So what did you learn about yourself during and after your experience?
I can go. So this is even something I'm still learning during COVID and just reflecting a lot in the past couple of years of just myself. But I am in control of my own happiness. I have the control of like the kind of people that I want around me and what I don't want around me. and that is something that helps me on my journey, where I want to go and what my goals are. Those are ultimately important, and if people can't respect that or are just, I use the term trash a lot, if they're just trash to me, like, you don't need to be in my life then. That's fine. That's about it.
Thank you.
I mean, there's so many things that you learn during semester at sea. You come back a completely different person, really. But I think a couple of things that stood out to me is that I learned that I'm a lot more flexible than I thought I was. I'm a big planner, and so before the voyage, kind of had everything planned out day by day. And things change when you're on the ship and you meet new people and you want to kind of travel with them when you're in port, or you're feeling sick one day, so you need to change your schedule, or maybe your voyage is rerouted, you go to a different country. So all of those things really teach you to be very flexible and enjoy that experience. And then also that you can communicate with anybody. You don't have to know their language, you don't have to know their culture. You can still sit down and have a meaningful conversation per se with them and get to know each other. And I experienced that in so many of the countries that we visited. And that was something that I didn't think was possible before the voyage. And so I've used that back here even now if I'm in the airport and I see someone who's lost because they visibly don't understand English. I don't understand what they're saying, but I feel confident in approaching them and trying to help them find where they need to go because of this experience.
I learned that I don't like traveling alone, really, is the thing. Yeah, being in different countries, I don't really like going alone places. The other thing is that being on my voyage, I learned that I can adapt to basically anything, whether or not it's having a port canceled the day before or learning that we're going to be at sea for another month before touching land. It's really, yeah, adaptability is a big thing.
Yes, I bet that was probably one of the key takeaways from your experience in particular. So thank you for sharing that. So now I'm going to open it up, whether it's in the chat or if you want to unmute yourself. So we have Moira and Miranda. If you'd like to ask any questions of the panelists, of Erica, of myself, but this is your time now. This session is for you. So feel free to ask any questions.
I think I'm all right for now. You guys have answered a lot. I'm not looking at trying this until probably fall 22, so I've got time to come up with questions and ask them, but I really appreciate this.
Okay.
It's good that you're planning so far in advance, though. I will say that, like, Semester at Sea does have a lot of planning involved with it, especially when you're saving for a voyage. It's always good to plan in advance. Our applications usually open about a year to a year and a half before a voyage. So I would definitely encourage, like, as soon as you can apply, because the earlier you apply, the better your chances for receiving a particular cabin that you might be interested in.
Okay, I'll remember that. And yeah, I'm definitely thinking now, like, ooh, I gotta figure out ways to save up for this.
Yeah, and I'm going to throw something in the chat. So we use a program software called Via TRM, and that's where the Michigan Tech Study Abroad application is. So you will have to go through our application process first, and it's very easy. And then after that, you can then submit the Semester at Sea application. So if you're thinking fall 2022, then we'd be looking at spring 2021, fall 2021 to start planning. So sometime next year, I think would be a good time for you and I to meet and look at classes and start having conversations on how to prepare.
Yeah, that would be great. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything from the panelists that you would like to share that we didn't cover already?
Oh, I was thinking about the visa thing. it is, you kind of forget about it after you've done the voyage, but it is such a pain when you are trying to apply multiple countries visa so far advanced, because most visas, they want you to show your plan within like 30 days or sometimes 90 days, but you have to apply before that because you want to have all the countries visa ready. I think I was a little lucky. Well, even though because I'm international student, I might need to apply more visa than you guys. So I actually applied one round for the voyage I was planning to go to, but then I delayed my voyage, so I had to go another round for that. And I didn't apply for two of them, which is Japan and India, because I didn't have the time. But then somehow they, I think SAS negotiated with them somehow that we were able to apply for a e-visa for India, that I was actually be able to go in, and they negotiate with Japan and to have some like special pass that you can stop there for a little bit, even though you don't really have a visa. But yeah, so that's that.
Yeah, visas are definitely more challenging for international students because they need way more. If you have a US passport, usually we apply for 2 or 3 countries beforehand, and then the other visas we mostly do like a visa on arrival situation. But we give you a step-by-step guide on when to start applying for visas, which ones to apply for, and things like that. So you'll never have to worry about doing that on your own. We're always here to kind of help you along the way so that you don't apply too early, that they expire, or you don't apply too late so that you don't get your passport back. But yeah, we definitely help with all those things.
Visas are also a really big expense that you should factor in when you're planning your financial situation, just to keep in mind.
There's also a budget breakdown on the website that we have. So if you have a particular voyage in mind, if you go onto the cost section, you'll be able to see like how the prices break down and then other costs to keep in mind. So other costs would be flights to and from the ship, any import travel that you would be interested in, visas, books, and just things like that. So it's kind of all helps you get a better budget for your semester.
Sasha, I wanted to ask, how has semester at sea helped you in securing a job? So you mentioned something about the water research. Did you find that having that semester at sea experience on your resume helped you during the job interviews and your career search?
To be honest, I don't know how much having that on my resume helped in the position that I'm in. So I work for Kohler Company. They're based out of Wisconsin, but they are a global company. And their big focus is on water because they do plumbing products. So I work on their water sustainability program. And I think the big draw for them was that by doing semester at sea, I was able to put myself in uncomfortable and unfamiliar situations and navigate that. And I think that was the biggest thing when going to career fair that really stood out to employers by having semester at sea. And I think that's similar to other study abroad programs as well. They just like to see that you're willing to step out and take on those new challenges.
Great, thank you for sharing.
Currently, we're doing alumni like kind of interviews on Facebook. So I don't know if you're interested in that, but we have a huge array of amazing alumni. And so semester at sea really helps with networking a lot. We just had this one guy talk, and he is the co-producer of Deadpool and Zombieland, and he's so awesome to talk about. But like, he talked about his semester at sea voyage and like everything like that. But we have some really cool alumni, and so after the voyage, a fun thing to get involved with is the alumni chapters in the different areas around the states. I always thought like, oh, I don't know if I want to go because I didn't sail with these people. But then I started going and I was realizing like, no, this is so much fun. Like, even though I didn't sail with you, I have no idea who you are, we have that one huge thing in common where we literally were on a ship and we were sailing the world. And you can't take that away from any of the alumni. So we always just like found something to bond over, and it provided some really great networking experiences.
All right. So I think on that we'll end, but I'm gonna throw the study abroad email address in the chat. So if you have any follow-up questions, feel free to direct them there. I'll be checking that. And just as a reminder, we do have study abroad 101 sessions every week. I'm throwing that in the chat as well, and those will be virtual Monday and Wednesday. So sign up for one of those so you can learn more about the application process. If those times don't work out for you, just send me an email. We can schedule a one-on-one advising appointment for that. But I want to thank our panelists. You did an amazing job. It's so great to hear what Semester at Sea meant to you. And I hope that you're able to answer some questions of the panelists or the audience today. And then thank you, Erica, for making time for us. Go out and enjoy that 90-degree Austin weather. I'm so jealous. But thank you, everybody. Have a good day.
Thank you guys so much for coming. It was nice to meet with you. I love chatting with alumni, but yeah, thanks for coming in.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.